You're watching Teng Tools Muscle Garage, the home of New Zealand's toughest muscle cars, hot rods and street machines. Muscle Garage is proudly brought to you by Teng Tools in association with Mount Shop, Maguire's and Niedercar. Coming up, the massive 2018 Rodders Beach Festival from Orewa. And tall tees to Topolino's, we shed raid the Shemanskis. First up though, the crew from Maguire's sent us to Auckland to check out Aaron Carson's traditional tea roadster.
I get quite obsessed about things, and I never realised that. A good friend of mine said to me, "You know, your wife says you get obsessed about things," and I agree. And I was incredulous. I couldn't believe it. Obsessed? I don't get obsessed. And as the years have gone by, I realised I get obsessed with things, and I can't leave it alone. And I go to bed at night thinking about it, and you know, bikes and hand-built bikes, and it's the same with that car. You know, that car was 7-8 years in the making, and it's still not finished. I've kind of made an agreement with myself to leave it for a while, and I'll come back to some other things I still want to do to it, but I just get obsessed about it, and it's a journey, and you can't stop. You literally go to sleep at night thinking about how you're going to solve a problem, or what you're going to do next, or what you're going to, and it's amazing. I really loved cars from the time I was about 8. And my parents owned a magazine store, so I'd wander in there and spend hours looking at all the magazines. And the two things I really got into was BMX and hot rods. And I'd sit there and draw these hot rods for hours and hours and hours. I knew how to draw a supercharger before I ever knew what a blower was. I didn't have a clue what it did, but I knew where all the bolts went. It's one of those burning desires through my life. Some things you gravitate towards and really love, and cars is one of them. Well, I started off like most people, I guess, with the Holdens and Falcons and the sort of stuff you could get your hands on when I was 17 years old and 18 years old. When I got back into cars, I really wanted a project, and I didn't want a practical vehicle. I didn't want something that was about transport. I wanted to do something that I could make my own, and you know, I could only afford to buy something that was a project at that point. So that's where I started.
Aaron didn't need to search too far and wide for the bones of his new build. A chat with mate John Pavlovich would point Aaron in the direction of well-known Auckland rodder Chris Piaggi. It sure helped that John and Chris had built arguably one of the best proportioned Model Ts on the planet, and Chris's treasure trove of a workshop offered a suitable starting point for Aaron.
The minute I saw that car, because he had the body sitting on the chassis, and the way it sat was perfect then. You know, it looked perfect at that point, and it was. Most people would have walked in and sort of not even noticed the pile of parts in the corner, but it screamed out to me. You know, I loved it. And it's funny when you think back about times like that. I guess it's like the mother of a really ugly baby, because I really loved it. Then I look back at it now, I thought, what a piece of shit. When I look back and look at pictures of it, but I really loved it from day one. It was to me it was perfect.
With the T now in his possession, Aaron set about applying the plan in his head to the pile of parts in front of him. First up, a Ford for a Ford. The 289 now topped with Hillborn mechanical injection and backed by a C4 trans and 56 custom line diff. The shiny stuff up front includes a bunch of 40 Ford components, while considerable thought and time has gone into the car's period-correct proportions.
You do have to kind of quantify it when you say you drive a T-Bucket, because there's a big range of T-Buckets, Model T Roadsters, but it's a late 50s style Model T Roadster. You know, that's what it is really, and it's in the vein of Norm Grabowski or Tommy Ivo's cars. It's not super raked. You know, it's a little bit more refined, I guess, in some ways. It's got a metal flake paint job, and it's got pretty wild exhausts, and yes, it is mechanically injected, but you know, it's a pretty simple car, really. You know, one of the key things was to get it is channeled down over the frame, was to be sitting in the car and not sitting up, you know, like you're riding a pony or something. So that was a big part of it, the laid-back windscreen was something I thought about a lot, and ended up going with that quite angled look, which I wasn't sure about to start with, and then I went back the other way, but that's where I've ended up, and that's the personality of the car now. They are very simple, and I think a lot of people provide practical answers to problems which they have when they're building a T-bucket, and that will work, and yes, you can put that in there, but aesthetically and as far as what looks right and wrong, I think it's really easy to get off course, and just because something works practically doesn't mean that it's right. You can put your car in an L300 van chassis if you want to, or whatever. You can do that, but if you care, that's not the right way to do it. You know, there's a way of doing things if you actually care about what came before you. If you care about, you know, it sounds arrogant, but what's cool, you know, it's not cool for no reason. It's cool because it's right and it works. You know, because I get obsessed with it, I'll be doing some job, and sometimes I'll just throw a sheet over it and leave it and walk away from it. And I come back and I pull it off and I go, yeah, that's right. I do dig that. That's rad, you know. The nature of that car was it wasn't legal. There were so many big jobs. I call them the big jobs that's got to come off the road for months. There were a lot of those big jobs where it was in parts just constantly. So now most of the big jobs are done. To be able to just get in it and drive it is awesome. And someone said something great to me once, you know, the difference between having a hot rod and not having a hot rod is hard work. You have to stick at it, and you have to put time into it, and that's resonated with me ever since I heard that. It's true, you know. Either you've got enough money to buy what you want and throw money at things, or it's hard work.
Right, thanks to the good folk at Need a Car, we're headed for Orewa to the 2018 Rodders Beach Festival, hosted by car club Hibiscus Rodders.
It all started by some of our club members saying Orewa would be a great place to hold like a smaller beach hop version of an event, and we thought it was had a bit of the Miami feel about it, and here we are 9 years later.
What hasn't changed since its inception back in 2010 is the festival's community focus. Previous years have netted in excess of $140,000 for a very worthy local cause, and in turn, the event is eagerly supported by the Orewa Township.
It's a family event, lots of people can have fun, and it's all for a great cause. It's for the Westpac Rescue Helicopter. We've had lots of people coming in and helping us today, all our club members and outside influences of clubs, which is fantastic because the event is just growing every year. In fact, it's getting massive, as you can see.
With hot rods, muscle cars and street machines streaming into Orewa from Friday, the early birds are catered for with a meet and greet followed by a drive-in movie. Things ramp up in a big way on Saturday, however. Gates open early to the Orewa Reserve, where entrants and the hordes of show-going public are treated to live music, vintage fashion, drag car fire-ups, and a prize giving before the Protector Thunder Cruise winds its way to the Puhoi pub. Sunday sees the show pack into the boulevard, the driving this time in the form of midday's Grand Parade. The turnout is clearly huge, and the quality's right up there too, like Dean Blakesley's tough El Camino.
65 El Camino. Started off a few years ago when I bought it on Trade sight unseen, you know, it turned up and it was all right, had good bones, eh? But there's a bit of a swimming pool inside and stuff like that, and really I was just going to put it back on Trade and flick it off again, you know, because it wasn't really what I wanted, you know. But I took it down to the drags and had a shot of that, couldn't get any traction anywhere. It was a bit of a bad day, really. Went all right though, you know, but zoomed off the old trailer, forgot about the handbrake, you know, and flying through the shed straight into my son's car and knocked that off the stands, wrecked the back of the El Camino, and that's where it all started, you know.
Seems it was time to get the Chev straightened up, and there's no better way to test the skills of your body man than coating it in gloss black, whether he likes it or not.
It did piss him off a little bit because we were going to go mandarin orange, and then I decided to go black, and it's like, oh, whoa, that's a lot more prep, eh? It's running in 427, it's out to about a 468, running about 10.5 to 1 compression, and yeah, 850 double pumper on top of that, and yeah, it's pretty strong, yeah. The 65, the thing I like about them is the back guards on them, you know, they run straight across the wheel, so you can tuck your wheels right under there and it gives it a hell of a mean stance, you know. Yeah, and obviously the motor's just insane. I'll take it to the drags, I'm going to take it to the Father's Day drags this year, I'll put some Hoosiers on the back and try and get some traction, and hopefully we'll get into the 12s or 11s or something like that, it'll be cool, yeah.
pretty in pink and downright rare to boot, Kathy Williamson's Plymouth Cuda.
What we've got here is a 340 AAR Cuda, bought out for the Trans Am series in 1970. It was a limited production, only a few of them were made, about 2,700 all up. In this colour here, the Moulin Rouge, they produced 36. Only one in New Zealand that I know of in this colour, yes, definitely. It's a dream car. It started off with a little model that I bought from a friend, and I said to him, oh my God, that is such a cool car. I said, I'm going to own that one day, and he laughed at me. He said, yeah, right. He says, do you realise how rare they are? And yep, and so obviously I just said to him the other day, I was careful what you wish for, because here it is. We bought it in April. It had been fully restored in 2002, so I didn't have to do a lot to it. I've still got the polyglass tyres on it. I have ordered some more tyres from the States to come over, but they've gone walkabout. But yeah, so not a lot of miles done in it. I'm taking it to shows really only at this stage, because I want to take those tyres off obviously and keep them for show tyres. Yeah.
A member of the American Muscle Car Club of New Zealand, the 340 six-pack Cuda may be the rarest car in Kathy's garage, but she's no stranger to muscle cars.
Yeah, I've got a 1970 Mustang as well, which I bought probably about 9 years ago. It was my first classic car. Love it to bits, still got it, wouldn't part with it. But yeah, this one's pretty special. You get heads turning no matter where you go, you know, either it's the sound or the look. Yeah, people just, are drawn to it.
Amazing results, even at full sight.
You're back with Teng Tools Muscle Garage, proudly brought to you by Teng Tools, in association with Mount Shop, Maguire's and Niedercar. Okay, thanks to Niedercar, we're back at the 2018 Rodders Beach Festival in Orewa. A big weekend with plenty of community spirit on show, and all proceeds going the way of Auckland's Rescue Helicopter Trust.
Obviously we can't do the event without sponsorship, but the great thing is our councils come on board and they've helped and seen what we can do. So I think all in all it's just a whole fantastic community effort from everybody, and I think the bigger we've got, more people are realising that we are here to stay. It's good for Orewa. I think $1.2 million was spent in the community last year on our weekends, so that was pretty awesome. So yeah, I think it's good for everybody.
It's a 1962 Buick Invicta. My wife actually bought for me without me knowing. Pulled the nail head out and put a 454 in it and a 4-stage auto. And it's just a good family cruiser that gets used every weekend, if not during the week as well. The paint job and everything was done when we got it, so we put the wheels on it. Mowed it probably just 6 months to do the conversion. We've rung the shop in the States, so we know it exists. And yeah, paintwork was on it from the previous owner. Get the underside and everything to be sharp and good, and then the outside looking rough and ready, just like that look. The outside's never going to get any prettier.
The festival's main goal was a simple one, a fun, car-centric weekend at Orewa. But for the more elite builds, there was a judged element too. Top honours went to a car that needs little introduction in New Zealand show circles, Ian Neary's Eruption, a 68 Plymouth GTX. While second spot went to Sean Williams' very fresh 33 Roadster, the brand new car, the result of a meticulous 15-year build.
It was good, it was lengthy. I didn't think it would take as long as what it did, but I'd probably have to thank my partner for that, because she wanted something a little bit different with it than just a normal 33, 34 Roadster. She did like the look of them, but just thought we could do something a little bit different. So she went about looking online and found a Roadster that she liked, which was Tom Gale's 33. And she just said to me, yeah, something like that would be pretty cool. So we just set about, that's what we'll do. We'll build that. She likes that, that's what we'll build.
33s are popular for good reason, and it takes a brave build team if a radical but tasteful redesign is on the cards.
The grille, for instance, yeah, and then you've got the curved screen. You've got the interior where all the seats are moulded actually into the body, so they actually sit inside the body. You've got lengthened doors. You've got a section body that sits over the rails. Yeah, you've got lengthened, custom-made bonnet, custom-made sides. Yeah, you've got everything's just been handmade. Everything. It's a 427 Chev, carbureted with a Tremac 5-speed and custom-made independent rear end by John Reed. It's a little bit different compared to what's going on. Like, everyone is going a little bit more traditional, and that's entirely up to them, and that's hot rodding, isn't it? Like, everyone has their own interpretation and own take on how they want a car done or how they want a car to look. I wanted that many years ago to be like a custom, one-off, high-end looking Roadster, you know? So, and I think we've achieved it.
Right, thanks to our mates at Mount Shop, we're headed just out of Palmy now to check out Peter and Delilah Schimanski's toy collection.
I used to think I was a Chevy man, but looking at the shed now, it's getting too many Fords. I like the old school cars, I presume you'd say, but the wife likes the modern cars, so we've got to meet in the middle, and that's why we've got the cars we've got today.
Yep, a pretty eclectic collection to be sure. The bug though, that's nothing new. It's just taken a bit more of a hold since Peter's retirement from dairy farming.
Probably always had it. Just playing around with cars and motorbikes and whatnot when I was a kid, being brought up on a dairy farm. It's just always been there. It's getting worse and worse because we're graduated from street cars into the race car now, so that makes life more interesting. How the racing come about it is the wife's red Monaro through there. We used to drag race that to start with. It's had the gearbox repaired twice and the diff repaired once, so we thought, well, how about we step up to a genuine race car and forget about breaking things too much?
That step was a pretty big one. The Fiat Topolino Altered has been covering Masterton Motorplex's quarter rather rapidly of late.
It's taken me 3 years to get there, and I was a bit nervous to start with. And then one season we had lopsided tyres on it, and it was just pulling to the left hard at half track, so that was doing my head in, but we finally got there, I think. It was doing 7.6s at 180 mile an hour in the States. So we're getting very close to that. We're 7.72 at just on 170 mile an hour. So we're not far off it. The wife always moans at me I drive too slow. I said, go fast on the track, go slow on the road.
Might be easier said than done if the latest build has anything to do with it. Being pieced together 5 minutes down the road at Palmerston North's Cruise and Customs, the HT Monaro is powered by 1,200 horses worth of 540 cube blown and injected big block, backed by a Tremac TKO 5-speed and 9-inch diff. Add names like Willwood and Heights into the equation, and this will be one to look out for at its planned beach hop debut. But that won't be the only Shemanski car with the Cruise and Customs touch. This 34 runs a more mild 600-horse Dart 434 sitting in a Kiwi connection frame.
The reason that it's the wife's car is because if I said it was my car, she wouldn't allow me to buy it. But since I was buying it for her, she allowed me to buy it and finish it. Yeah, every car has a story, all right. My father died in June this year. 12 months ago, he rang me up one day and said, "Have you got any more room in your shed for another car?" I said, "Oh, I think I could squeeze another one in." I said, "What are you thinking about?" He said, "I'm looking at a two-door Mercedes." He said, "Are you sure you got room in your shed?" I said, "Yes, there's plenty of room in the shed." So he said, "Well, next time you come up, bring your trailer up and pick up this two-door Mercedes." When I got there, it was a bloody two-door smart car, about 3 feet long by 3 feet wide. And boy, do we have some laughs over that. The Super Snake is a special car because there's probably only 3 of those in New Zealand. And that's very special because it's only done 1,080 miles. It must be growing in value, and the reason I bought it is to prove to my wife that you can make money out of cars. I suppose time will tell whether I'm right or not.
As we all know, no collection of cars can be called complete without appropriate decor. And Peter, well, he's got that sorted. But adding more to this collection may have some stiff competition.
Promised the wife that when this shed is finished, in the next shed outside, which is a lot smaller, I was going to build her a diner and a bar. But then I've sort of told her that it's going to take a long time to finish this shed. But she's sitting there frowning at me, so perhaps I'll have to get my ass into gear and get it done. We milked cows for 39 years, and everybody asked me, "What are we doing now?" I said, "I'm enjoying life for a change." And that's what we intend doing for the rest of our lives, is just enjoy it.
Every week, we're giving our viewers the chance to win a Teng Tools and Maguire's gift pack worth $250. Simply go to themotorhood.com and follow the Teng Tools Muscle Garage link. Plus, by entering our weekly draws, at the end of the series, one lucky viewer will win a Teng Tools 460-piece automotive toolkit, a complete Maguire's car care pack, and a $500 Mount Shop voucher. The total value of this grand prize is almost $5,000. Good luck, everyone. Teng Tools Muscle Garage was proudly brought to you by Teng Tools. Get organised. Mount Shop, undercar specialists. Maguire's, people who love cars love Maguire's. And Need a Car, the easy way to research and buy cars online.